Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today. We are going to talk, of course, LeBron James, but we're going to talk about it from the angle of his brand new podcast with JJ Redick, the Mind the Game pod. And looking forward to talking about that because contrary to what you might think, I actually, in order to be as objective as I possibly can, watched and listened to the show. And it was interesting. I have some thoughts. But anyway, before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. Also, if you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast. We should come right up. Don't forget, if you're enjoying the content, to give us that that 5-star review, and of course, drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, help more sports fans find us. And finally, before we get to the topic at hand today, make sure you put it on your calendar. Make sure you put it in your phone. Make sure you set an alarm. 7 p.m. Saturday night, we'll be doing the Format Podcast live show. Let's go ahead, get these numbers up so we can do these call-ins and I can interact with you directly and you can tell me what you like or what you don't like about what I'm saying. Really look forward to it. Really look forward to taking the show to new levels. All right. Let's get right to it, shall we? We are going to talk today about LeBron James and his new podcast, as I mentioned, the Mind the Game podcast. And, when I heard that was coming out, I did a show yesterday, and I kind of thought this would be just another opportunity for LeBron to kind of push the narratives that he wants to push, right? And JJ Redick, being a big-time LeBron guy and a big-time water carrier for this particular era of basketball, I thought that LeBron had probably chosen the perfect guy to go along with him on this show. And so I said, I do need to, as a guy who is doing this and making commentary, I need to watch the show, I need to listen to the show, and I need to be as objective as I can possibly be regarding the commentary that JJ Redick gave and LeBron James gave, and actually seeing if they kind of kept towards what the show is intended to be about. So I watched the show on YouTube, and I did think it had some interesting stuff, right? So obviously I didn't play basketball on any high level, but I thought because JJ Redick is a big time X's and O's guy, and the premise was supposed to be about pure basketball and really talking about those things, that I would have the opportunity in watching the show to learn some stuff. And I'm always down with learning stuff, right? I'm down with learning stuff. I'm down with sharing what I've learned. I've been a teacher. I've been an instructor in the military. I've done a lot of things in my career. So learning and teaching, no problem with that. So I definitely tuned in. I checked it out. And I can honestly say at first watch, and I really thought about it. I said, this show is kind of cool. I definitely learned some stuff kind of about NBA verbiage, for different play calls that they use, and I thought that was cool, and just to get an idea of what they were talking about when they refer to certain things. So I said, all right, not bad. Then LeBron came into the show and they started talking, and I said, all right, well, these guys are kind of doing their thing. They're vibing back and forth, as you would expect. Again, JJ Redick being a LeBron guy, and LeBron, of course, being a LeBron guy, right? But as the show went on, they kind of talked about some different topics, and like I said, I watched it all the way through. I thought it was somewhat enjoyable. I thought I learned some stuff. And then I said, all right, now let me try to watch it with a more critical eye. So I went back and I watched it again. And I really tried to pay attention to the different things that they were discussing and kind of get an idea about what did I think was the premise? Where did I think they were trying to go with this? And, at that point is kind of where I found some things I thought were very interesting, and then it hit me like, oh, there we go. That's LeBron just being LeBron again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a clip from the show for you, and be warned, it's about 2 minutes, 53 seconds long, so almost 3 minutes. So longer than the clips I usually use, but I thought it was important to kind of get that to be the backdrop of some of the points that I want to make going forward. So I'm going to play the clip, then we're going to come back and discuss it. And so hang on and check it out.
Are you born with basketball IQ, or are you taught the game the right way and now the basketball IQ clicks on? Like, I was literally just, when you was explaining that, because I come from, I believe, great coaching. From my Little League coach, Frank Walker, senior, to my, at the time, AAU coach, Coach Drew Joyce, to my high school coach, who was a former college coach, Coach Dambrot, and then my AAU coach took over when Coach Dambrot went back to college basketball. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I was taught the game the right way. But the one thing that those coaches always told me, they told me that I had an uncanny ability to process information faster than anyone they've ever seen. One coach, and this is, I know you're gonna smirk about this. There's guys in the NBA that if you call a play or a coach draw a play to one side of the floor, they can't switch it in their head and do it and say, let's run it to the other side without the coach drawing on the clipboard.
Yeah.
I've never understood that. And I don't know. I never understood that. So if I say we running thumb down angle, we're running on the right side, so because I have a left-hand point guard, he wants to come middle to a strong hand. He has the ability to hit the pocket pass with the left hand, has the ability to throw ahead, he's lefty, and also has the ability to throw back on the shake. But if I say, hey, we run a thumb down angle on the left side because now the right-hand guard coming right, I've had teammates that's like, oh, what do you mean? Coaches always, in practice, we only ran it from this side.
Yeah.
I could flip a play when I was 8 years old. No matter if it was just pass and cut, no matter if it was, let's run flex, but let's start on the left side. No matter if it was just, let's DHO, driving kick. The last one, all right, now let's just drive the baseline, drive, drift. If the forward on the left side is looking at the ball, you can slot cut. I could do that. I was doing that stuff when I was like 8, 9 years old, and my coaches would just be blown away, and I wouldn't know where it came from. I have no idea. So to get back to your question, I think I was born with a sports IQ, and it could have been any sport, but I just think basketball was the one that I chose, and maybe I was chosen to do that as well.
So, very interesting comments from LeBron James. And so here's some of my thoughts about these comments, right? And first, like I said, my original thought was that this show would be just another opportunity for LeBron to control the narrative, right? Because again, he's got a guy on his team here who we know is a noted LeBron defender. Okay, cool. And I've talked about it ad nauseum, time and time again, about how much of a genius LeBron is when it comes to controlling the narrative and the way he's perceived throughout his entire adult life. And again, can't take anything away from that. That's brilliant. A lot of that is what has helped to lead him towards becoming a billionaire while he's still playing. Cool. All right. So first thing I'm hearing and I'm thinking, I was right. This podcast is really just another tool for LeBron to control everything and to toot his own horn. How many times, if you're a basketball fan, have you heard announcers and analysts and journalists talk about what a brilliant basketball mind LeBron James has, right? We hear that. Okay, cool. And so he already knows that he's well regarded as being a great basketball mind. But what's interesting to me is he still feels the need, as always, to come out here and tell us. So the first thing that stuck out, when he says at the beginning of the clip, the coaches told him when he was young that he processes information faster than anyone they've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, that may be true. Why do you feel the need to tell us that? You already know that you're regarded as a brilliant basketball mind. Why do you feel the need to tell us that? Do you need to kind of set the basis for what's going to be coming the rest of this podcast? I don't know. You look at Magic, you look at Mike, you look at Bird, all these other guys, Jason Kidd, John Stockton. All these guys had a plethora of media around them for that time, of course, right? But they had tremendous amounts of media around them. They all did tons of interviews. I've never heard any of those guys, who are all regarded as brilliant basketball minds, Isaiah Thomas as well. I've never heard them talk about how their coaches said how fast they could process information. All right, cool. Maybe that was just a one-off, right? So moving forward in that clip, LeBron says he sees so many guys in the NBA who they can't switch to play in their head if the coach doesn't draw it out on the clipboard for them. Now, again, LeBron, we get it. You're a brilliant basketball mind. So let me take you to myself here, right? I mentioned before that I've taught. And I've taught different things, and I've done different things. And the Almighty has blessed us all with different things that we're good at, right? My mom, retired nurse, right? She was a nurse for like 40 years. Obviously, I'm a journalist, and I've done other things. I've served in the military, etc. So everyone is gifted with different things. My big brother was an outstanding basketball player, and now he's a financier, right? So I can't do what he does. I can't do what my mom does. They can't do what I do. Cool. Everybody has different gifts. So when he says he sees NBA guys that can't switch to play in their heads, well, why do you feel the need to put those guys out there like that? Clearly, they just don't have the gifts that you have for being able to, process things and flip it around and do it that way. They can't. And that also says you're ignorant to the fact, LeBron, that some people learn in different ways. We know for a fact that people are different learners. Some people are visual learners, and some people need to see that play diagrammed out for them to be able to absorb it properly. They can't just, flip it in their heads, like you said. Okay, next up. You said you have teammates who can't do that as well. Like, why would you throw your own teammates under the bus? This is what I don't understand. You never have enough help, but you're throwing your teammates under the bus. This is why we get this whole thing of LeBron is the most unselfish superstar ever. That's not true. That's not true. We see that he's always looking for attention. We see that he always wants all the credit for himself. We see, and this is not my opinion, we've seen it for the last 20 years, that in every possible opportunity, he is going to throw someone else under the bus to take the blame when it doesn't work out how he wants it. You got teammates. Why are you saying I've had teammates who can't do this? You don't think Michael Jordan, Magic, again, I'm going back to these guys because these are the other guys that are that on whose level you're supposed to be, right? And we've never heard any of these guys throw their teammates under the bus without including themselves. It's always, we didn't play well. Or as a leader, I've got to do better. And I've got to do a better job of having these guys ready to compete, blah, blah, blah. We don't ever hear that from LeBron. But he threw his teammates under the bus. But he's the most unselfish superstar we've ever seen. Come on, man. All right, next up. Again, tooting his own horn. He's an amazing 8-year-old prodigy. Now that I don't doubt, right? When you're gifted like LeBron is or some of these other guys. Now, some guys may bloom later, but most of these guys, their talents start to manifest early. So maybe it is true that at 8 years old, you could do all these amazing things. And that's cool. But again, why is it hard for you to understand that other people couldn't do it at 8 years old? And why do you need to brag about that and tell us? We know you're an all-time great player who's had an all-time great career. Why do you feel the need to do this? I don't get it. Okay, at 8 years old, you could do this and you could do that. That's cool. I get it. I guarantee there's some things, not athletically, of course, but there's some things that I could do at 8 years old that you can't do. Why? Because I just have that gift, or that's what I'm good at, right? So everyone can't be good at the same thing, or this would be a pretty boring world, or a world where a lot of things didn't work, right? Everyone's not good at the same thing. Everyone doesn't have the same gifts. Okay. You're so braggadocious. And some people are going to say, well, what about Muhammad Ali? He said he was the greatest. Well, number one, he was trying to sell fights. Number two, the guy was a devout Muslim. So if you ever talk to him or listen to real interviews, he was just saying that, he was trying to get in his opponent's heads. He was trying to sell fights, etc. And, now don't get me wrong. The all-time greats in any sport do believe and have some level of ego. But this guy's ego is totally different. Next up, he talks about, he believes that he was born with a sports IQ, and it could be for any sport. Now, really, it's not enough for you, LeBron, that you're an all-time great basketball player who's had an all-time great career. Now it could have been for any sport. Man, stop it. So you telling me you could have been out there like Messi, huh? Right? That's what you're telling me? You telling me you could have been an NFL all-time great tight end? No. Now, some people are going to argue and say, well, before he gave up football, Bruce, he was an all-state wide receiver and tight end in the state of Ohio, which the state of Ohio is like the best northern state for football. I think it's like the number 5 state in high school football in the country. It's generally California, Florida, Texas, Georgia. And depending on the year, it goes in, whatever order that is. And then Ohio is generally 5th. So anyway, no disrespect, a lot of outstanding players come out of Ohio. But the point I'm trying to make is, people are going to say, well, he was all state playing football in Ohio. Then he gave that up. That's cool. But what have we seen over the last 20 plus years that makes us think that he has the physical, mental toughness or the makeup to have been an outstanding player in the NFL or even on the collegiate level? I doubt it. Anybody lays the wood to him and brings the heat on some vicious hits, he's going to be up whining and complaining. He's not built like that. And that's cool because clearly he went and did what was best for him. And I respect that. He went and did but this whole thing of he feels like he has a sports IQ and it would have worked for any sport. It's like, come on, man. Come on. I don't get it. So again, I really took the time. I listened to this and watched it twice. And there were some good points. And I mentioned that earlier. So I'm not ripping the show saying there was nothing good about it. But clearly, I think that I was right on my original premise of what the show was going to be. Now, again, things don't have to be perfect. And even from the worst things, you can generally draw some good. Now, the percentage of good, that's a different story. But there's always something that you can take from it. And like I said, I did learn some stuff from JJ Redick talking early on in the show. But then I was overwhelmed by LeBron tooting his own horn for an extended period of time. And that was 1 3-minute clip that I cut from the show to share with you guys. But yeah, it's amazing. So anyway, what I want to know from you, if any of you watched the show, and I'm sure some of you did, leave your comments in the comments section. I'd love to hear what you thought about it. I'd love to hear some of your comments on it. And do you think, obviously, it's going to do well? I think about an hour ago, after one day, it already had 1.5 million views. So it's definitely having success. And, that's LeBron James, right? Being real and not being a hater. Everything he touches pretty much has success. So respect due for that. And that's outstanding for him, for his family, for his business and all that. So much love for that. You always want to see somebody, if they're not, a scummy person, you want to see him have success in their endeavors. And he's clearly doing that. So respect due. But yeah, I think at least based off of this first episode, and I will watch forthcoming episodes because one, I do want to see what else there is I can learn in terms of the X's and O's from JJ Redick and maybe some from LeBron, but I also want to see just how much of his own horn he's going to be tooting and how much he's going to use this extended platform as just another propaganda arm. So leave your comments in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you. Can't wait to get back to you. And of course, don't forget 7 p.m. Saturday night, we'll be right here doing the YouTube live, and can't wait. And I'm out. Peace.